Hey there, I'm Mandy Louie, Pilates movement therapist and specialized in hypermobility and EDS. Did you know that for every extra bendy part in your body, you also have an equal tight part to go along with it? And I know that's hard to believe when we're just feeling either extra flexible or extra tight, but I'm going to teach you some ways to find more balance in your stretching and your movements so that you can see more lasting results. If you're always stretching the same thing with no results, then this is why. I'm going to teach you how to first stabilize your extra bendy parts and then mobilize the tight parts within these common exercises coming up. And these are just the things that I teach you within the Pilates for Hypermobility course that I teach 3 times per year, in the fall, in the winter, and then in the late spring. I also teach these foundations within my membership, the Santosha Movement Society. So we'll give you personalized attention within the course. You can have instructor cueing and feedback specific to you because we're all different individuals. So we always see a lot of aha moments and big changes. We need to have these necessary foundations in place before we progress and begin to strengthen. So a lot of exercise programs are just starting up here when we've got to get those foundations in place so that we can see lasting results. So if you're wondering why exercise hasn't worked for you in the past, this is the missing link. So let me know how it goes after you do the video. Hi, I'm Mandy Louie, and today we're going to be talking about the range of motion and some common exercises and kind of controlling that range of motion and seeing how we can actually get a more even stretch or feel of strength in our bodies when we do things in a slightly different way. So I want you to have either a foam roller or a Pilates ball to start with a bit of a back extension where we can try to get some true stretch in the tighter part of our backs. If you don't have a foam roller or a blanket, or a ball, excuse me, you can roll up a blanket like a burrito and you can kind of make your own foam roller, and then kind of the bigger you can get that, the better. Okay, so go ahead and choose if you're going to use your ball or your foam roller, and I would come onto it and have the tips of the shoulder blades touching it here. Interlace your fingers, make a little pillow for the back of your head or a little support. Elbows come in. And then from here, a lot of us will try to stretch our backs by tipping back and over the roller or whatever the prop is and getting this nice stretch here and trying to open up our spine or even our pecs in the front, which is okay. But what we normally see here is that we will go into a back extension and we will focus right on the most mobile part of our back, which for me and for a lot of people is kind of in the middle of our back here. But if we can curl up, exhale, use a little bit of the abs, let the ribs come closer down toward your hips. So you're using the connection of the abs. You don't have to be tight in the hip flexors. Pubic bone can be loose and relaxed, but ribs coming down toward the hips, and then elbows coming in, keeping the ribs there. So we're not going to let the ribs go backwards, but think of your upper back, the space above the roller right now. Let that start to tip over the roller without letting your ribs go. This can actually start to maybe stretch the upper part of our back rather than going into our most mobile part of the back, which might be, somewhere around the mid back for some of us. If you're watching this video, I may have wanted you to do that for a specific reason. So now we're starting to get a bit more stretch into the place of our back that is usually restricted. Exhale through the mouth. Curl up, try to come up with your core, not pulling on your neck, let your head relax in your hands. Now do another big old movement like you did before, like your body wants to. Notice the difference. Exhale, come up, and then we can mobilize our restricted part of the upper back by stabilizing in our spine and our ribs, keeping the ribs in that same place while we stretch over the back. So this could feel like a totally different stretch than when we just go over into our most mobile parts first. So exhale, coming up, and then you can turn to the side and press yourself up. Okay, so now we'll talk about another common one where we tend to go into our most mobile part first, cat-cow. We're going to break this down. So first, what I want you to do is just do a regular cat-cow like you normally would. So just do that without thinking too much about it and just notice how that feels. And then particularly notice your cat. So when I do cat, if you want to see what I'm doing now, you can. I overly stretch in kind of my mid to upper back, and I don't get as much into the low back. And some of us are the same way. And then I'm kind of overly pushing into my shoulders and really just getting too much into that part because it's really mobile on me. So what we'll do is let's break this down, and we'll do just a mini cat. So it's the low part of the back, the lumbar spine. We're going to just move that part. So push the floor away to find your shoulders. We're going to stabilize our shoulders and stabilize our upper back.
Push into all 10 fingers. Let the space between the shoulder blades almost kind of come up just a little bit to really stabilize and protract the shoulders. Now we're going to move just the low back. So tailbone scoops under, hollow of the belly. Notice how I've just tucked my tail under and moved the lumbar, and then I undo it. Okay, I'm going to do that again. You can see, because I'm wearing white and black, that the white is the part that's moving right now, my pants, and then everything else is staying stable. So this is lumbar mini cat, I call it. So now some of you still might be doing mini cat and you're still letting your upper back move. We want to keep the upper back really still as you just move that lower back. Okay, so that's our mini cat. Okay, now we're going to do our mini cat first and curl the tailbone under a little more, belly button to spine a little bit more. You're doing the most mini cat that you can. Then you're just going to start to let your head dangle. Your upper back can round a little bit, but at this point, your low back is going to have stretched and taken up some of the room that the rest of your back was kind of hogging before. So you should have a more even cat now, and notice that. Notice that it's different. You're stretching in different ways. You are not all stretching out in the part of your back that was the most mobile that immediately jumped to the movement. Then we can unwind. You can go to a cow, keep pushing the floor away, straight arms to protect your shoulders so that you're stable in the shoulders. And then start your cat by doing a mini cat with your lumbar. Tailbone scoops under, hollow the belly, belly button to spine, and then allow the upper back, your head to dangle. You can look at your thighs. Your upper back doesn't even have to do as much as it did before. So that's the mini cat into the new cat. So if you want to, you can do your old cat that you used to always do, and notice how different that feels when you take this attention to kind of using all parts of the spine rather than just diving into the part that's the most flexible. Okay, so then we're going to talk about spinal rotation as a shoulder stability exercise versus what a lot of students will say they've been given as an exercise, the open book. So let me show you both. So first I'll show you my version of the spinal rotation. Hand to forehead, elbow forward. So you have a deep armpit. An armpit could not be shaved in this position. The shoulder is really stable. We roll the spine back. The shoulder stays stable. Your armpit stays deep. Your elbow is a little bit more forward than you might think. And your hip has rolled back just a little bit, and then you restack everything. Now, a lot of people will do this stretch that a lot of people call open book that looks really similar, where they just plop back and they put their whole shoulder on the floor, and their hip stays stacked, and the rest of their body kind of goes back in this rotation. Now, what I like, that might feel like an okay stretch, fine, but what I like about spinal rotation is, again, it's going to have a more even stretch along the spine and even into the hips, and the shoulder is going to stay stable. And a lot of us are really always looking to find stability in our shoulders and then moving, so that our shoulder isn't just out of the socket, like it potentially could be in a not so great position back in that open book. So elbow forward, hand to forehead. You might tuck and tilt the pelvis to find neutral. And then your elbow and arm and armpit, everything stays the same as you rotate the spine back. The only reason your arm and shoulder move is because your spine moved up. So let's do that on the other side. Exhale, press up. A little bit of core stability as you change to the other side. Hand to forehead, elbow forward. Tuck and tilt the pelvis. We'll do our spinal rotation. Deep armpit. Elbow stays forward even as you rotate the spine back. Then just for good measure, because we did it on the other side, you can do your open book to feel the difference. Just let everything go. Take your whole top shoulder toward the floor back behind you, and then return. So that might feel good, but sometimes it can be a bit of an overstretch and there's instability in the shoulder. So hand to forehead, elbow forward, deep armpit. What I'm looking for is maybe something different than what if you were given open book by a provider. I'm looking for shoulder stability while we move our spine with integration, so that our ribs and hips are in this really nice alignment. Our shoulders, ribs, and hips, they kind of move together. And then good. Okay, so let's exhale. We can bring ourselves onto our back, actually. Now I want us to go over a really common exercise, the bridge. It's done in various different ways, but I would like to show that the way that I like to teach it is with keeping the ribs and hips and the whole spine in neutral. Sometimes in yoga, the bridge is done as a back bend and the ribs pop, and we're not going to do that in Pilates. I'm looking for a bit more stability and alignment in a different way. So feet hip bone distance apart. If you want to put a block between your knees, it could be helpful, or a little Pilates ball. I want you to just rock the pelvis forward and back a few times without using those glutes, and then just settle into that nice neutral pelvis, hip bones and pubic bone in the same plane. You're going to tip your pelvis to imprint, ground into the feet a little bit, and then curl your tailbone under. You're going to start to roll your spine up bone by bone. Keep the inner edge of your feet touching, inner thighs drawing toward each other. We roll the spine up while the glutes are lifting. We are not lifting the ribs here. We are going to take the tailbone to the backs of the knees, keep the feet down, and from our shoulders, ribs, hips, and knees are in a nice alignment. Now here, let me show you what I actually see sometimes. Butt drops, ribs are up. Okay, what I want you to do is push into your feet, raise your butt, tailbone to the backs of the knees, let the ribs come down a little bit and soften. And that's more of this neutral bridge. We can roll down vertebra by vertebra, bone by bone, as you come down through imprint and out to neutral. So the tailbone to the backs of the knees, glutes lifting rather than letting the upper back lifting can be kind of tricky. Sometimes we lift the ribs and the butt at the same time. So let's see if we can differentiate that. Tip the pelvis to imprint, ground into the feet, and start to peel the spine up bone by bone, rolling the spine up. As we lift the hips up, keep thinking tailbone to the backs of the knees, glutes lifting rather than pressing the ribs up. The ribs are staying in that neutral. Glutes are working majorly. Inner thighs hug in so that you just have a little bit of space between the knees. You're not knocking the knees out to the side. The inner edge of the feet keeps touching. Tailbone to the backs of the knees. Breathe in. It's major glute work. And then exhaling to roll the spine down vertebra by vertebra and out through the imprint into neutral. And then sometimes people will do shoulder bridge as more of a hip lift, which is fine. So again, find the placement of the feet. Let the knees caps point straight up so they're not knocking out to the side. If you just press into the feet and raise the hips, the glutes will be lifting without pushing the ribs up. They could come straight up. And then when you plank your hips back down, the top of the hips just set down and you don't roll through the spine. So again, here we want to get the glutes working without puffing the ribs up. So we're not going to be doing this. Ribs up, okay, they stay in alignment. I just show the incorrect way sometimes so you can see. And that last one I rolled down a little funky, so I'll do one more. So press up, glutes, hip lift, and then rather than rolling down, we just plank those hips down. Okay, great. And then we're going to do a little bit of, the last thing we're doing is a little bit of range of motion and teaching about the shoulders and the positioning of the arms and the shoulders. And so you could kneel or stand. I'll just kneel for today. So when we take our arms up, I want you to start with your arms a little bit in front rather than back here. So we can sweep our arms out and up and allow the upper traps to rise, or let them rise with you as you sweep your arms out and up. Sometimes we have to take our upper traps, which are here, up with us as we come up because they're not coming up. But we don't want to try to brace them down. Okay, so try with your arms slightly in front like this. And then maybe your go-to was like to have your arms back here or even straight to the side. And that's where sometimes we can get into some clicks and pops and some feelings of not as much stability in the shoulders. So arms come slightly in front. All we're going to do is sweep our arms out and up. They're still slightly in front as they come down. If you cannot straighten your elbow, sometimes it's because our arm is back here or it's out of the shoulder socket and it's bending when we bring it up and then we can't straighten it. I can't straighten my elbow and my arm's back there either, but when it comes in front, then I can. So we'll do a little lateral bend. Again, you can either be kneeling or standing. You can be on a blanket if you're kneeling if you need to. Just take one arm out and up, it's slightly in front, and then side bend over. Top elbow fairly straight. Check that you're not tucking your chin down. Head back against the imaginary wall behind you, and then coming back up. Sweep that arm out and up. It's slightly in front, and we side bend over. So the big change here of what I'm teaching is that we're keeping our shoulders in what we call scaption. There's just a little bit more stability in the shoulders when that arm is slightly in front. The arm bone, the humerus, can really root into the shoulder socket a little bit better when we're slightly in front than when we're in back. So even if you're doing like weights exercises, get those arms slightly in front and see how that can improve the positioning of the shoulders. And of course, I have lots of videos and information on finding neutral shoulders, doing our protraction to neutral, making sure our shoulders are in neutral as far as not being down too much. A lot of times I'm teaching a little bit of a lift to come to neutral as well. So you may need to also incorporate a little bit of elevation and then sweeping the arms up in order to find a good neutral into this upward rotation. So trying arms in front of you with any type of exercise can be super helpful. I hope breaking down these 5 exercises was helpful for you. And if you have specific questions on what that should feel like in your own body, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. So how did it go? If you even noticed just one thing that you did a little bit differently in your movements throughout the video with this type of cueing and finding more balance in your movements, then think of how well it could go if you had instructor feedback with you in taking the Pilates for Hypermobility course. The course is offered 3 times per year, so keep an eye on your inbox for the next registration session. And if you're subscribed, you'll be getting early bird pricing to you as well. If you want to get started right away, I would love for you to do that. It's all within the Santosha Movement Society. So keep an eye on your inbox, join the Santosha Movement Society, or make sure you're registered for the next round of Pilates for Hypermobility to get more where this came from and make a lasting difference in your movement practice. Thanks. I'm Mandy Louie, and I hope to see you soon.